How's it going, everybody? My name is Alex Meyer. I'm the marketing manager here at Ellerbrock-Norris. Today we got Kevin Sneed on, talk to us a little bit about cyber insurance, and just kind of what that entails and what that means. So, Kevin, I'll kick it over to you to introduce yourself and just give us a brief synopsis, who you are and what your expertise is.
Okay, thanks for having me, Alex. I appreciate being a part of this. Ellerbrock-Norris is one of our customers, and we're what I call a unique boutique wholesale broker because we only do D&O, professional liability, and cyber. And what makes us a little different than most brokers today, at least in terms of the cyber aspect, which is what we're going to talk about today, is that we started doing it back in 2008. And I first met Brian Bassett and Andy, I don't know, a couple years after that, and began a relationship over the years, teaching their people more about what the cyber products is and getting it out in front of their customers where it belongs the most. And flash forward to where we are 13 years later, and we're in 2021, and it's a completely different landscape. And the things we're going to talk about today, most of them didn't even exist when we first started having this discussion. So I think it's going to be good for everybody just to kind of get an idea of what cyber is, why businesses need it, and what they can do to be, good businesses to get the coverage.
Right, and everybody's on their phones, computers, everything all day, So transitioning there, so give us like a 90-second brief overview. Just kind of explain cyber insurance and explain what that is, and we'll go into why people need it later.
That is a good question. The funny thing about that is people say 90 seconds. How can you explain cyber insurance in 90 seconds? Well, I can do it this way. Cyber liability insurance is not a liability insurance at all. Really, it's a property casualty coverage. And I like to call it a digital asset package policy, or a DAP, because it's easy to remember an acronym. And what it really is covering is non-physical fires against non-physical assets of a business. So in the real world of what we know fire insurance to be, the building can burn and we can see the visible perils that might cause it to burn. It could be lightning, it could be an electrical fire. There's a lot of different things, and we do what we can do to mitigate the risk because we can see the property at hand that could be physically lost. Cyber is very different because although there's a portfolio of liability coverages, most of the coverage that you're going to have in a claim is going to be something to do with property, and really digital property or non-physical assets, and restoration of people's IDs and systems, networks, things like that. So it's a fundamental coverage that is, I have determined over the course of my career and all the insurances I have seen, this is the one that businesses should buy first, because this is the one that causes the biggest loss, and also has the highest probability factor while we're on that subject. So
right, no, yeah, that's great. And most businesses are converting almost completely to anything cyber or via web or any of that stuff. So obviously you need protection. So if I am a business, why should I look into getting cyber protection, and what does that mean for a business? Like if I'm just new to it, just kind of explain that to somebody who might be new to that cyber insurance or liability game.
What's interesting about that is that you said, and businesses are all moving into these digital platforms, and they're all moving into this interwoven world. And that's the reason. The reason simply is this: it's called means to an end. And I always explain the means to an end phenomenon in cyber liability and commercial insurance this way, because it applies to everybody, regardless of whether you're a towing company, a restaurant, a hotel, a doctor's office, an insurance broker, a marketing agency, all the way down the line. Doesn't matter. If you're a commercial insured, you have a risk, and it's because of means to an end. And the way it explained it, we'll talk about Joe. So Joe, he opens up a pizza shop in 1982, and his primary way of getting pizza out to the people is receiving cash, or those swipe credit cards, like those imprinters, one of those things, or he markets through using penny savers or through yellow pages or ads on a park bench or some other way like that. Pays all of his employees many times with just personal checks. Orders all of his thing with the checklist to get all of his supplies to make the pizza. Makes the pizza, takes all the phone calls, sends drivers out to get the to deliver the pizza. That's the way pizza was made in 1982. Now, Joe has a son. The son grows up. 2021 is here. Joe Jr.'s running the joint, and the pizza's exactly the same, Alex. The difference is point A to point B is completely different, and yet they don't have cyber insurance in place. And so here's the problem. In 1982, point A to point B, his big risk was a fire. in his restaurant or an auto accident from one of his drivers. In 2021, oh, it's absolutely not. It's Vlad the Wad in Bulgaria lurking to bust in because his inventory is all electronic. His employees are paid through direct deposit. He only really accepts credit cards and debit cards. He's got texting and mobile alert going on. He's got web-based ordering going on. His whole world has become digital, but the pizza's the same. That's why you need cyber insurance, because you're unprotecting everything that you have going on.
Right. The product's the same, but in the end, everything, the way that the product gets there from A to B, like you said, it's completely different. And so much data is uploaded into just the cloud now. Like how people, you don't even really know what the cloud is. It's this data it's almost a monetary thing now. It's like
yeah, who owns it, right?
Yeah, who owns the data? I mean, I guess you click the little checkbox and then there you are. But
what we know about that is that it's a more secure place to keep your stuff. So that's what we do know about the cloud.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and I'm sure that kind of goes into what you're speaking on right now. So, what makes me eligible as a business for cyber coverage?
Okay, so this is the hot topic of this whole interview is this question, because it used to be that you could just send us in a submission, we give you a quote in an hour or 2 hours, sometimes just even on the phone, and we could give you a quote. But it's not that way anymore because the lack of underwriting didn't. There was no underwriting. There was no controls in place that existed for the carriers to go and say, these are we need A, B, C, and D before we even want to quote you. But now, with about 2.5 years of ransomware events and 3.5 years total of social engineering and phishing events that have gone on since 2017 to now, they've got this body of experience which they're working with, and they've said to themselves, we know that risks that do these things tend not to have these claims, and risks that don't do these things tend to have these claims. So in the beginning, it was, well, we'll make a rate adjustment and we'll charge a higher deductible, or we'll do. But now it's not even that. They don't even want to quote them. So everybody just declines them. So this is the point of the message today. We need 4 things in place as a basic rule of thumb when doing cyber. The first is no open RDP ports. And all of this is acronyms, by the way. So it's no open RDP ports, remote desktop protocol. That's my ability to be able to use your computer and your mouse and your keyboard on a remote capacity. So it's me getting into your computer. If they're going to be using remote desktop protocol, then they want them behind a virtual private network or a virtual private internet, VPN, VPI, and they want multi-factor authentication layered in to be able to access that VPN to get into the system. So that's point 1. Point 2 is what's multi-factor authentication? Okay, that's the rule of the day. MFA or 2FA, as it's also known, it is simply this, because people, they can't sometimes get their head around what this really means, and I figured out a way to do it. It's what you have, and it's what you know. So what you have is you have what you know is your password and your ID to get into the system remotely. What you have is a cell phone in your hand to receive a code, to put a text code in to authenticate you and get you into the system. That's what they want, and they want it for all remote access for all employees, to emails and to access into the systems as a bare minimum to get access into their programs. The third thing they want is EDR. EDR stands for Endpoint Detection and Response Software. And basically what this is it's virus protection on steroids. So it's put on every endpoint. An endpoint is a laptop or anything that's connected to your systems at any capacity that has an ability to isolate a virus to just the unit that's infected without infecting the entire system. And it's a very useful tool, and it isolates it, and then it updates everybody else at the same time. So it's a simultaneous virus protection that works in that capacity. They want that. The last thing is you brought up the cloud. I'm going to close out on the cloud. They want cloud-based backups that are disconnected and segregated from the server. That's also known as air gapping. Basically, they want you to deposit your data onto a computer that's not connected to the systems. That's what they want. And that's what makes you eligible for a quality cyber quote in 2021.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And hopefully these protection plans can actually, keep these businesses fully protected so that they don't have to worry about, they can conduct their business in this new age, and they won't have to worry about, any, like you said, phishing or anything like that? Because I know there's a lot of that stuff out there, and
There is.
I don't know if you had any closing remarks just
Yeah, I
on
do.
just
There's
on
one last thing I want to say about this, Alex, that I think is going to be really relevant to our discussion. That all of these things I talk about are controls. It's like putting more locks on your house and another guard dog and another security system. It's all just layers of protection. But it doesn't matter if your teenagers keep the front door open and let anybody in who wants to come in. And that's your employees. And we need to understand that despite all the great things that we are doing through our IT departments and through employee training and everything else, it doesn't matter, because it really only takes one employee to cause all of these problems. And so I tell people, it's good to have these controls, and yes, you should implement these things, but none of this goes away. None of these ransoms are going to stop until we change employee behavior patterns. And when employees start knowing that their digital footprint is far different than their physical footprint in a building, we're going to be at an impasse. So hopefully we'll do more of these interviews, and I'll help try to give people ideas on how to be able to change employee behavior patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to definitely do a little series of these, so stay tuned. And yeah, Kevin, I want to thank you for coming on. You're obviously really passionate about what you do, and can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on, taking the time to talk to our audience, and just hopefully we can prevent and manage that risk of that cyber liability. So we really appreciate it.
Yep.
And
looking
forward to having you on.
And we're all E&I, all in E&I over here, man. That's Omaha.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Yep.
God bless. Bye-bye.